Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Day 3, some buzz left. Is that right?
I guess.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, day 3. Still looking for a head coach.
I'm sure there's a lot of activity going on.
Yeah. I'm sure that they're working on it. But we're here. Big weekend because not only is it the Final Four, but what is it, the National Coaches Convention, that they're all there. Trev should be there, chatting away. Maybe a brand new candidate emerges. Maybe some of the names we've heard. I'm getting antsy. And maybe I shouldn't be getting antsy. You and I just had a full discussion before. We did a whole show before the show. I'm getting a little antsy. Faith, hope, all that stuff. I believe. It's not that I don't believe. It's not that I do believe. I like resolution. Mm-hmm. I also don't think it's a good idea to rush into things if your first plan doesn't work. So whatever their strategy is, as long as they get the right guy, and we won't know if it's the right guy for a few years, right? But I am getting antsy, like, where are we with things?
I think we'll know who our basketball coach is probably early next week. Today's Friday.
Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
So a week after.
Yeah. To me, that doesn't sound that alarming. Huh. Especially if you want. Well, look, you went all in for your guy. If I was athletic director, first of all, I'd be dressed a lot better than I am now.
Would you?
Yeah, I would. But if
suits.
I'm not saying that. I probably wouldn't be wearing shorts. But and I probably wouldn't be up yet. Well, maybe I would. Anyway, I would have had my list, and I would have been calling up.
Checked it twice.
That's right. And I would have called up Chris Beard, and when that didn't work out, I would have looked at the next guy on my list, which would be Brad Underwood. And I
think his buyout
and I would look and see if it's feasible. If it's not, then the next thing, I go to my next guy on the list, which for me,
McCaskill,
would be McDermott at Creighton.
He's like 100.
And he's 60 years old.
Okay. Oh, he's a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, he's 60. You still got a lot of life in you when you get to 60 and plus.
Uh-huh.
And then the next guy on my list might be McCaslin. It might be.
I think McCaslin would be above Beard or right after Beard.
Okay.
That's where it would be for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't.
You have your own list, though.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, if it was me, and I think that's what you do. You have a list. Bill Byrne once told me, "Hey, I got a list. I got a list for every sport that we play. I got a list of potential head coaches if somebody leaves."
So here's how often is your list updated? Because if your list includes this year's March Madness, I hadn't even thought about this guy. This guy, look what he did at so-and-so school. He's got to be on my list. I'm going to move him up the number. Like, I think the list has got to be ever evolving.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when Jimbo Fisher was one of the top 5 coaches in the country, and then he wasn't.
You could probably get him if you wanted.
Yeah, I want to coach basketball. He liked talking about Michael Jordan a lot.
I do too. We have that in common.
Maybe you could be the next coach.
No. Have you ever seen me shoot a free throw? It's not pretty.
Well, I know you beat Nick.
Yeah, let's be honest. I'm an athlete. Sorry, Nick. Anyway, and I'm not an athlete. So look, antsy, yes. Patient, no. Understanding about the patients, absolutely. Like it's not a video game, right? In a video game, dynasty mode, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? You know?
I don't play video games, but go ahead.
I haven't played since my kids were born, but
I used to play Centipede. You don't remember that one?
that was 1981.
I like that one. Yeah.
So, like, you can simulate, you can fire the coach, you can have a whole 2025 season like that. It can be done. In real life,
I always liked Miss Pac-Man.
that game sucks.
Not Pac-Man. I wasn't much for Pac-Man. I like Miss Pac-Man. I guess
Why?
it was the heterosexual part of me. I guess I was.
So
more
you
interested in
identify as being the female lead in the
No,
story?
I preferred to play with Miss Pac-Man other than Pac-Man. Anyway, you're
Where were we?
you're going about basketball.
Yeah, I forget though. Like, I was going down a path, and now you're playing with Miss Pac-Man, and
Oh,
simulate a season. I don't even know, but like, I'm impatient to a fault. I like action, but I want the right action. So here's hope, the word that everybody loves, that they get the right person. We all are hoping for that, and there's a big faction on social media, huge faction, that like, here comes the justification from TexAgs, or here comes, look, maybe, I'm gonna tell you how I see things, OB, and I don't have to have a definitive take on anything, because I don't owe anybody that at all. What I do owe is, let me think this through, let me think about the positives, with the potential negatives, and let's see. What good would it do, seriously, if today I made my opinion and I wasn't able to go left or right? For instance, I'm going to use Connor Wigman as my example.
Okay.
I've used him before. I started seeing flaws in the game last season. Not before. Before, I thought this guy was like, I really believed he was going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I felt that.
so maybe.
Okay? And I wasn't the only one. Jordan Palmer of the SEC Network, a lot of people.
Right.
But I got off the Connor train a little bit later than others, okay? Because I held out hope. As information became available to me, I changed my mind. After the Notre Dame game, there were people ready for Connor to be benched and be done. I was not one of those people. I was like, and I loved what I had seen from Marcel in the Oklahoma State game, but let me get some information and let me tell you why I think it could work. And here's some reasons it might not work, right? But what good would it be for me to be like, this dude sucks, he'll never be able to do that, yada, 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 no spin, yeah. And then the dude is good. Things have to play out.
Mm-hmm.
When Zach Calzada was here, people made up definitive opinions of him before the Alabama game.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, after the Alabama game, it's like, I'm getting calls from national media, this dude is amazing. Like, look, you play out the story. Coach Early,
Turns
you
out
play out the story.
The early opinions on Kazan turned out to be the right ones.
Well,
so.
But guess
But
what?
he did have a legendary.
And now he's at Kentucky. Okay?
Yeah,
He banked on himself. He went to Auburn. Didn't work out. Incarnate Word. Worked at his trade. Had some really great numbers. Has a chance now.
Nice guy. I hope he has success.
I hope he has success too. So, but my point is, information evolves.
Yes.
And right now, I don't know what to feel about the coaching search, because credit to Trev Alberts, like he's got his list, he's working on it. Billy's had, but it's funny, when Billy posts something, then everybody else gets that information 12 hours later. And it's like similar, but a little bit different spin, but similar. But Billy has been telling folks what is happening, but Billy can't create the news, right? So I wanted to, if they need to be buttoned up and quiet and take till next Friday, do it. I am concerned with every day that passes, because rosters, A&M has nobody left, right? Like, who's left? One player? McDermott? There's one guy left, right?
Solomon?
No, I think Solomon went in the
Has he been in the
Yeah, I
portal?
think he went in
Okay.
the portal too.
So, yeah, maybe a freshman guy that was, and who else?
Chris McDermott, yeah, so there's one left.
So bring in a McDermott.
His uncle, Greg?
His teams always shoot the ball well.
I just want to win.
I
don't
just
care
wanna
if you
see-
shoot the well or like just, yeah.
Did you
need to
hear
shoot.
Seth Greenberg the other day? If it eventually comes down, can you put the ball in the hole?
Yeah. But can you stop the ball from getting in the hole too?
I don't care if I can do it, put it in there more than
they
did.
can, yeah. Well, I get it. So look, if it's Alan Huss, if it's whoever, like all these names that we've heard, I've heard Porter Mosier, which is more of a social media thing, not a TexAgs reporting thing. I'm not going to make a definitive opinion. I'm going to have opinions initially, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And then I'm going to do research, and then I'm going to be like, okay, I see why they hired him. Then I'm going to hear him talk and be like, oh, maybe. Or I may hold back. Like,
personally, let me say this. Yeah. Personally, I would love Porter Mosier. But it's because I know him, and he's a great guy, and he's been here. He knows what A&M is about. And you can, if you're going to judge him by Oklahoma, then you don't know what's going on up there with their NIL. Judging by Loyola, I mean, that was amazing. I don't think they'll go for Porter. I think because of what happened at Oklahoma this year, which, by the way, they still got in the tournament, did they not? Right. So,
and I think Billy even said that's not like a name that he's hearing right now.
I would like that.
Yeah. But you like the guy.
Oh, I like the guy a lot.
Yeah. I don't, if it's these mid-major guys, if it's this up-and-coming assistant coach, if it's a name that is looking for a bounce-back opportunity, cool. What can you do with A&M's NIL package? And again, we don't know what that is. And what can you do with our resources? And what can you do to field a team next year? What I worry about is the later this goes, the ability to field a competitive team in year one.
See, and I get that. But I was very skeptical how competitive they were going to be if Buzz had stayed.
Yeah.
So that might be something that scared off Beard.
Yep.
He's looking at the roster, and everybody's going, hey, look, I got to start from square one now. I don't think so. I think I got to, maybe. I'm not, I don't know that to be true. So, but, my take on the whole thing is I just want to wait and see who they hire.
Wait and see. That's actually a smart thing to do.
I'm not going to, and about the whole thing, like we're spinning and things like that. I mean, how many times can you say, we wanted Chris Beard, didn't work out. What are you going to decide you're not going to play anymore because you didn't get the guy you wanted?
Well, I mean, I think there are some people.
Alabama wanted to hire Rich Rodriguez to be their head football coach. Turned them down. They hired Nick Saban.
People don't want to hear that, though.
I know.
They don't. And by the way, to me, it's about results. So if you strike out on candidate 1, candidate 2, candidate 3, that's part of the results. That being said, what are the results that happen after? How high were people on Billy Gillespie when he came?
I don't know. I assume that they're like, oh yeah, he's had good run at UTEP. There's probably, and you know what? There probably wasn't as much reaction either way because yes, Shelby Metcalf had been successful here, but basketball had been a problem, and you'd forgotten what A&M basketball could be.
Yeah.
And now we know what A&M basketball could be, and we want it.
Let's run our mouths in 3 things we want to see this weekend.
Okay. I sure would like to see the starting pitching for the baseball team get right back to where they were. It was.
They're taking on Tennessee, right? Yeah.
Because you would need to be.
Yep.
I would love to see the bats stay alive for the softball team. Mm-hmm. I want to see both Mac Barber and Barbara Mack hit home runs.
Yeah.
KK. And the others who I
Maya.
Yeah. See all of those have big weekends. Since I would like to see the continued improved hitting this week from the baseball team.
Here's what I got for you.
Okay.
I want a coach hired this weekend.
Okay, I want a coach hired. Okay. I think it'll be toward the end of the week, but okay.
I'm just telling you what I want.
Okay, I know. It's what you want. What David wants, David gets.
But I have a dash after that, okay?
Okay.
Without an epic meltdown.
Oh, you may be asking too much.
I don't care. I'm asking for it. David, what do you want for your birthday? I want to go to this restaurant. I want this. You can't. No, I understand, but I'm asking. What I want, this is what I want. I don't want an epic meltdown. I'm not saying you can't have reaction to it. I just don't want epic meltdown where it's all over social media. Look at Aggie's crying. Yeah. I want a coach who are like, okay, let me do some research on this guy to see how I feel about it.
Okay.
That's what I want. That's A. I'd like to see our breaks go our way in baseball.
Okay.
We've talked about all season long, and I know some former employees have some commentary on social media, but I would like to see our breaks go our way in a series where they have routinely lost games different ways. Okay?
Yes, they have.
Sometimes it's the fielding, sometimes it's the hitting, sometimes it's this past weekend, unfortunately, some of the pitching wasn't good. So have the breaks go your way to where these close games go to A&M's favor. I know that's asking a lot for a team that beat you in the College World Series final, a team that's ranked number 1, I think for 5 straight polls it's been, whatever it may be. Let the breaks go our way. And hopefully that means you win 2 out of 3 in this series. Okay? The breaks go our way. Softball, keep it going.
Keep it going.
Just do what you do, okay? Keep doing what you do.
Just keep on. Just like a Ford pickup. Just keep
going.
Just keep going.
Yeah. America.
You know, I picked out a Ford pickup.
Because you have a Ford pickup.
No, I have a Chevy.
Oh, that's what I meant.
But the coach.
See, sometimes you have to explain things to me. All right, let's get back to the Smack Man. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. You can call us or you can text us at that number. We'll pick it up on the Bucky's Catering hotline. I know it's not The View. Okay? I know. That I know. All right?
No, it's not.
All right. Thank you, Rachel Maddow. But I'm Rachel Maddow in the story.
Only when he's wearing the dark glasses.
Thank you. It's Clark
the
Kent.
horn-rimmed.
It's Bruce Wayne with glasses.
I've
Anywho.
never seen that.
Anyway, what I was going to say is this show does have a name.
Yeah.
It is TexAgs Live.
Uh-huh.
We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
We are.
We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
The whole Rollo Insurance Studio.
This particular area is the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
The cool zone.
Where you can get your taxes taken care of. They'll help you out with that. Estate planning. They can help you invest in pro sports by going to investinprosports.com. There's another one.
I think
I covered it? Okay. Yeah, there you go. You can do all that at Holistic Planning. Make sure you check them out, investinprosports.com. Behind the glass is a good friend that I call Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm good. Having a good Friday. I honestly don't have too much to say because I feel like not really much has happened, but I do want to say if y'all haven't checked out our Majay Reed Adams podcast yesterday with Le'Veon Moss, that's probably one of my favorite pieces of content that we've ever put out here. It was an awesome interview. He had his son here, and he's got a really cool story. I feel like he, touched on some things that maybe hadn't been out there, personal things and stuff. So it's just cool that he's got 2 kids and he basically plays for them and wants to build a good life for them. And that's super admirable to me. So it's a really cool podcast. Go check it out on TexAgs.com.
Good stuff.
I admire dads that are active in their children's lives and doing what dads have to do.
I cannot hang, chat, fake conversate with people who aren't active dads. I cannot.
I don't get it.
I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to look at you, bro.
Greatest blessing, and it's a greatest
blessing in the world.
And it's a great responsibility. So accept the responsibility, accept the blessing.
Yep. Good stuff there. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Garner. Sorry. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. What is on your mind this morning from a Angry Elephant News and Social Center point of view?
Well, we have a comment on the YouTube that says, why not check out NBA coaches and give it a shot? So I wanted to hear y'all's opinion.
I'm not against it. I'd have to know the situation. I know the Memphis Grizzlies coach was just let go, and he's a popular name out there. Billy Donovan.
Well, if you could get Billy Donovan, that would be I didn't even think about Billy Donovan.
Well, he's at the Bulls right now. He's Chicago Bulls.
Because I think it's unreachable.
Yeah, but like a name like that resurfacing in College Station?
If I got an NBA coach, it would have to be, for me, somebody that has been a college coach or has a significant college background because of the recruiting aspects, because of the contacts. He probably has the contacts anyway, but I don't know. I think it's still it's a different game.
But what about a guy who knows how to communicate with young players?
Okay.
That embraces NIL.
Okay.
I think that widens the net quite a bit. Widens the net?
If they did something like that, whoever it is, even if it's somebody that's not high on my list, I'm going to support them and have an open mind.
Yeah. Dreyer, what else?
So we do have one note for softball. As we know, Maya Perez was named SEC Player of the Week. And on Wednesday night, the number 4 Texas A&M softball team run-ruled Prairie View 10-0 for their 12th run rule of the season. And Mac Barbara hit her 50th career home run and her 5th as an Aggie. The team wrapped up their 9-game homestand with an 8-1 record and outscored their opponents 78-20. This weekend, they'll go to face number 16, Georgia.
Dreyer, great stuff. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. That's where you say, you're welcome, David.
You're welcome, David.
I made it awkward again. All right, OB, on the show today, we'll do bank on it in a few minutes. I'm sure you'll have something to bank on. At 8:35, Ryan O'Brien stopping by. Okay. We'll talk a little Aggie football, talk about his camp, and then we'll close it out with Around Aggieland. So we got a busy 8 o'clock hour. 9 o'clock, Pugliese, he's going to be on the show. This guy's become Hot Sports Take Jake on Twitter. Yeah. He's got a lot of college basketball takes, so we'll talk to John Pugliese. After that, the baseball bunch. We'll probably be talking baseball.
Yeah. With the baseball bunch.
Yeah, we'll probably.
You want to talk about a guy that's active, an active father, Ryan O'Brien.
Oh yeah,
man, he's taking that. You know,
how many kids is he?
He's got like 20.
No, he's 20. He's like 17. He
thinks he's an oldie.
He may already be here. That's funny. And then Billy Liucci at 10 o'clock, and we've decided no college basketball talk at all. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
we're gonna talk all about it. Get your text messages in. All right, 1775. How do we enter a 1775 discussion without like the romance of the meat?
The romance of the meat.
Without setting up a meeting of the minds. If we're just going to say, here are the facts, and make your decision after, kind of like the coaching search, how would we go into that kind of conversation, OB?
Here's the facts. The facts are that beef, that brisket, it's succulent. I was there yesterday. That's a fact. And you know what? I came away thinking, I forgot just how amazing that jalapeno cheese sausage is. And
what did IDOC think?
Oh, IDOC is just diving in. Like, he was eating the pulled pork.
Yeah.
The pulled pork. I had the pork ribs, which were amazing again.
Yeah.
In fact, and then the wife texts me because she knows I'm there and basically threatens me that I have to. So after I've eaten, and there's minimal left, I go up and ordered her a plate and brought it home. And
You're
that's
a good
what
husband.
Well, that's more self-preservation.
Thursday through Saturday they're open, so they're open today and they're open tomorrow, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. You should go check them out at 8203 Raymond Stelzer Parkway in College Station, 979-492-6241, or go to 1775txbbq.com.
I love it.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, David Nuño.
Yeah.
Friday, April 4th, 2025.
Yeah.
You think people know the date if I don't tell them?
Yeah, but they probably know. It's on everybody's phone these days.
Oh, that's
but
true.
you know, you never.
So are sports.
You can take a reminder.
Yeah. Anywho, let's bank on something. Shall we do that? Can we bank on something?
Yeah, I'm going to bank on Emily Kennedy.
Well, let me tell the people what bank on it means.
Okay.
Oh, well, first off, it's presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more. Oh God, at verabank.com.
Don't you just bank on Emily Kennedy going out and winning a couple of games on the weekend as a pitcher?
Yeah. I mean, she's phenomenal. She's been phenomenal. And the big thing that this week, because we had a lot of softball on this show this week, was that the fact that her usage rate, she's still pitching twice on the weekends, right? But they're easing her in. The innings are less, and it should hopefully keep her a little bit more fresh for the postseason.
Yeah. So I'm always banking on her.
Yep.
She's pretty reliable.
You know who I'm banking on? I'm going to do something very similar to Emily Kennedy.
Bank.
Ryan Brauninger.
Okay.
He's an easy one to bank on.
Yeah.
Didn't have his best outing recently. I think he's going to be great today.
Yeah, that's probably pretty sure bet.
Right.
Because he's not going to have two.
I think he's going to be really good, right? He's going to put them in position. Can they take advantage of that position?
That's another story.
That's exactly right. So I'm banking on Ryan Brauninger.
Okay. I'm banking on Trev Alberts getting me a head coach again, maybe as early as Sunday, but I'm thinking, early next week. And it's going to be somebody you're going to like.
So no matter who they hire, you think I'll be happy with?
No, because I just heard a conversation. I won't spill the beans on it, but we were talking about one candidate that David Nuño wasn't high on.
No, actually, I think I might be high on that candidate. I want more information, and I want the resume to be a little bit bigger. That's it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I won't get down with it.
No, I'm not saying that you won't support the guy.
No, and I don't evaluate. I'm starting to do a lot of evaluations of college coaches, but I don't evaluate a lot of the guys that don't come in front of me often until I'm forced to read about them.
Okay.
Of all the candidates, the up and comers, Bucky, Luke Murray, all these names that I keep reading about, I knew a little bit about them, and I'm adding the information to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Luke Murray, who I don't know if he's even a candidate, but he's a name that's very popular on social media. Because of that, I've started to pay a little bit of attention. And he's a recruiter. He's the offensive genius behind what UConn's doing. And then you start seeing the other names that are there. Oh, okay. Well, this is interesting. What did Stanford do? Okay, let me know more about them. He won a state championship beforehand. These are things that I had maybe heard, and it didn't. Like an advertisement that you see it, and you see it, but until you kind of need that information, it doesn't click.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. Wait, what's the name of that dealership that David always goes to?
Like the Charmin.
Yeah.
Being squeezably soft until, you didn't really think about it until you actually needed that.
Right. You don't. So that's kind of where I am with it, OB. Some of the names we've heard. Alan Huss at High Point. Heard a lot of good stuff about it. Actually, before A&M was in the market.
I've never watched High Point play basketball.
Bucky McMillan's the guy I was talking about from Stanford. Another name I've heard. Steve Lutz, Oklahoma State. Very popular. I don't know if he's even being discussed. I haven't heard Billy even mention that as a name. Chris Mack, I'm fairly sure he's got a high buyout, pretty high buyout. Chris Jans at Mississippi State. Porter Moser, we talked about him earlier. So these are all names that some of them I hadn't heard of. Some of them I've thought about recently. And my opinion is evolving.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
And it should be. You should have an open mind because, sometimes you have it in your mind that it has to be a certain coach and it looks like a great hire and it doesn't work out. And sometimes I can tell you this, of course, so much of my reference goes back to football, right? Because that's my primary field of, I don't want to say expertise, of knowledge is I can remember how many people, and I've said this before, lambasted Clemson for hiring Dabo Swinney. You know, he was just supposed to be the interim coach.
Right.
Oh, then, all right, well, let's keep him around. All right. It was almost a joke. Well, who's laughing now?
Yeah, look, that's why I've said with all these, we have our opinions, and then we have to wait to see how things play out, right? And sometimes the popular name is the right hire, and sometimes the popular name that the fans and analysts want is the wrong hire.
It's true. It's true. I'm going to make another football reference. Tom Herman. Was anybody hyped up as the next great coach more than him?
No. And he was actually trending in that direction.
And he was a huge disappointment in Texas.
Yeah.
Not here. We were actually kind of happy with him, but there they were.
Yeah.
Charlie Strong.
And sometimes fit, right? I bet you if Tom would have stayed at Houston for a couple of years, he could have built maybe not a Kelvin Sampson level football team as Kelvin did, but he could have he was on his way to building something special at Houston.
Yeah, I've said this. Sometimes coaches are not ready. They don't have the personality for the job they're getting into.
Right.
Billy Gillespie at Kentucky. Eddie Sutton at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Almost everybody at Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I question Kalen DeBoer how he's gonna do at Alabama if they're not great this year. You think there was a certain amount of grace he was going to get in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
If they struggle this year, can you imagine how that fan base is going to react to him this year?
Well, and let's hit a break here, but Dusty Baker, no, Houston fans did not want him to be hired.
Yeah, how many times did he have to win the World Series for Houston fans to like him?
He only won it once.
How many times did he have to win?
I think they appreciated him at that point, but like when AJ Hinch was let go,
he only won the World Series once.
No. When they hired him is what I'm saying. Like people were not clamoring for Dusty Baker to take over that job.
Even when he was the coach.
Even after.
They were trying to push him out.
They were, right? And there were some managerial decisions that I was like, I don't know. But players loved him. He was just a likable guy, and he was the right guy for that time. Timing is a huge deal. Let's hit a break. I believe Ryan O'Brien will be here. I didn't see him in the lobby earlier, but that was a few minutes ago. Right now we're talking Bird Dog, Aggie owner and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. I want you to think of them as an Airbnb for your hunting experience. And when you do that, you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I want to go hunting next week or 2 weeks from now, a month from now, this fall, whatever it may be. You go to them, they'll set up all the logistics for you, which is awesome. But they do so many more things than just that. If you are a landowner and you've thought like this land is expensive, I need some help, I need some tax benefits, but I don't know which ones I can get. They'll find those tax benefits for you. A lot of them, you don't even have to have hunts on your land. As long as you're farming or running cattle, they can take care of you. That's what Bird Dog does. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize that income on your land. What you need to do is check out birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Go check them out, please. We're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, David Nuño, Ryan O'Brien in the house. What's up, man?
Man, appreciate you, David. Doing pretty good, man.
Thanks for. So look, we got to get into your camp. It's a great deal. It's free. We'll get it to the specifics. You do it every year. You come on the show and we talk about it. But something you told me during the break, I had no clue about it. I don't know if our audience knows. When you moved to San Francisco for your master's, right? University of San Francisco?
Yeah.
There was a period of time where you were homeless.
Yeah.
Do you tell this story ever? Or?
Not too much.
So tell, how did all that happen?
Yeah, so I went down to University of San Francisco, and I had housing there and whatnot. And the housing market in San Francisco is pretty tough, especially finding an apartment. And around the summertime, my first year there, I was thinking that it was just like Texas, where you can just apply for an apartment or whatever the case may be. That wasn't the case. So I ended up getting to the end of my housing agreement with the school, and I didn't have anywhere to stay. So I basically, one of my buddies let me, stay on his couch. And during that same time, I was having financial aid issues at the University of San Francisco, and it's a very expensive city as well. So thank the Lord, he was letting me to stay on his couch. And then I was also like doing a hotel, like that was like $50, $75 a night. So
you were saying not a glamorous hotel?
Yeah, no. But the great thing about it was that I actually met my wife during that season of being homeless and of just not really having a stable place to stay. And that's during the season I met my wife, and she really showed me how she loved me, even though I wasn't stable.
Right.
In terms of like housing and those types of things. And it was crazy because I didn't have a car either, so I was basically just doing public transportation, going to school. And shout out to University of San Francisco with their sport management program, because I wasn't able to pay my tuition during that particular season, and they allowed me to continue to be in the class until I got all my financial aid stuff situated. So it was a blessing, man. I learned how the good Lord, he's faithful. And even though I might have made a wrong step in terms of not getting my housing taken care of the way I needed to, or, my finances, that he was really faithful to me and had the right people in place, whether it was the director of the sport management program at the University of San Francisco, or I was working as a personal trainer. I was able to start getting more clients.
You think?
Yeah.
Chest is popping out.
I've never felt so inadequate. Got Nuño over here.
Bro, I feel like Pee-wee Herman next to this dude, right?
It's like a going up a cliff. You got Nuño with his bicep, and then you fall off and you get down there.
No, so it was good. And I was also interning at Cal Berkeley.
Okay.
As well. So I was doing a lot of stuff trying to figure it out. I was working with the football program with Coach Sonny Dykes was there at Cal Berkeley, and my coach at A&M was there, Mark Tomerdahl, who's still the special teams coach at TCU. We still have a good friendship now. But yeah, it was an interesting time.
Ryan, I know that Obi's got a couple questions for you. I want to get into your camp, but can you just remind our audience, because that part of the San Francisco is just part of your journey, right? The journey at A&M wasn't rosy in the beginning either.
Right.
Kind of remind the audience of your, because it took 3 years to become a scholarship player, right?
Yeah. So I started off at Aldi Nimitz High School in Houston, and I played every position they needed me to play. So I didn't have a lot of like statistics in terms of a lot of catches, a lot of rush yards, and a lot of tackles and those types of things. So I was just a guy that just needed opportunity, and they gave me the opportunity at A&M to walk on. And one of the first things that happened when I got there was the freshman walk-ons had to work out differently than the rest of the team. And so it was a very challenging time period. I was under Francione. And it was just tough trying to break into playing and those types of things. But I just remember people encouraging me during that season. I know Brad Davis, he's like the O-line coach at LSU right now. He was like an interim head coach for a moment. I remember him writing a letter to me when I was, a walk-on, just telling me how, man, you're doing a great job and just keep doing what you're doing. And I try to do that now, honestly, with my kids, that whether it's players, just try to find ways to encourage them, because you know how far that takes you.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that took me a long way in terms of just being encouraged to keep working hard. And I remember my first time playing in a real action was like in 2008, and I was able to be the 12th man in my junior year, and be able to make a huge tackle on Michael Crabtree, and they called it back, and I had to go and make a tackle again right after that. And it was so cool when I was able to go back home and be able to see the news, the sportscast, and they said my name, and that was really cool for somebody who was a walk-on. And then I think he got hurt. Michael Crabtree got hurt during that play.
So you hurt Michael Crabtree?
I'm not, but he got hurt.
Don't
so
come
like,
over this way.
So throughout the whole week on like Sports Center or like college football game day, you know how they have the daily show.
Right. Yeah.
They kept playing that one play.
There you go.
Throughout the whole week, and I was like, oh, that's so cool that
you got family calling you about it, right?
And you videoed it. If it was me, I'd have videoed it, and I'd watch it like every day. Still.
So let's do this. We got to our segment late. Let's hit a break. We'll do a second segment with you. We'll talk about your camp on the other side, and we'll get to some questions about Aggie football.
Yeah.
Right now, we're keeping water local. It's not just any water. I'm talking about the water here in Brazos and Robertson County. It's not just something that comes out of your taps. It's the lifeblood of everything we love about home. And right now, out-of-state interests are eyeing our water, threatening our community's future. So I'd like for you to consider helping out. Keep water local. A group of neighbors fighting to protect what matters most. If you're deeply rooted in this community, you need to realize it's not just about water. It's about preserving our farms, which are it's Texas A&M, hello, and our businesses and the Aggie spirit that makes this place so special. What you need to do is head over to keepwaterlocal.org, get involved. Let's keep our water right here where it belongs. It is keepwaterlocal.org. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olson wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. We're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour. Ryan O'Brien with us. By the way, the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. All right, Ryan, the camp. Every year we talk about it. The cool thing about your camp is it's free for the community, right?
Yeah. So everybody's welcome. I got it from 4 years old to about 13. We have 2 sessions at 10 a.m. It's going to be...
What day, I'm sorry?
It's Saturday, April 19th.
Okay.
Which is the day before Easter, and it's at Travis Fields in Bryan. But the first session is at 10 a.m. To about 10:45, about 4 to 7 year olds, and then from 8 to 13 years old, they'll go at 11 a.m. And it's right before the spring game, the A&M spring game. So you guys will come to the free football camp and then go check out the spring game right after that as well. We're going to have people like Christian Michael, so one of my old teammates. He'll be there. Call him Brother Malcolm Kennedy.
Yeah.
I'll be there. And we're going to have some actually current college football players as well from the community. They'll be there as well. And some other former college football players as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to HEB has come and partnered with us. So we'll have free food, free gifts.
Mr. Charles got you?
Yeah, Mr. Charles taking care of us.
Yeah, I know Mr. Charles. Everybody knows Mr. Charles.
And then Gabe is helping us out with our shirts, Gabe Bach.
Yeah.
And their realty group they have.
Bach Realty, yeah.
Yeah, and just a lot of people have helped out, as well as you guys. You're helping me to get it out to folks. But it's a great opportunity. And
you can sign up until when?
Up until Friday, April 18th, so we make sure we have a good shirt count, have a food count, and those types of things. But sign up as fast as you can so we can just have the right numbers so we're ready to go. So right now we have about 70, 80 kids signed up. So hopefully we can get to about 120. That'll be great for us.
Ryan, if your time as a walk-on and then becoming the 12th man and then going to San Francisco, all you dealt with, you are the epitome of perseverance and endurance. So I would ask, do you send any kind of message to that when at your camps, or is it all just the nuts and bolts of football?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. It's all about the big picture of life and building up the inside of that athlete. A lot of times we kind of live in this youth sports industry where it's about getting money or extracting something from the parent. And a lot of times you're not going to be able to see that through them being successful. They might fail in the game. You might but if you build up the inside of that young athlete, you'll be able to see tangible benefits regardless if they're playing the sports or not. So the camps that we have, my Jawa training, which are speed and agility, is all about building up the inside of the young person as well as the outside.
Excellent.
Ryan, thanks, man. Appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate
Great
you.
seeing
Thanks
you as always. We'll hit a break. When we come back, Around Aggieland, John Pugliese, the Baseball Bunch, and Billy Liucci. All that, plus your text messages and phone calls at 979-693-1150. That's the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll get to that, talk about the Aggie basketball coaching search, more football to get into, and, of course, this series against Tennessee. It's TexAgs Live. studio director, they're not just moving microphones. They're reminding the host, turn on your freaking mic, Nuño. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to talk to John Pugliese here in a few minutes, but right now it's time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com, and we've got Callie Garner in the house. Callie, Calita, ¿cómo estás?
How's it going?
What's up?
It's rainy and gross outside.
Did it start raining?
Well, it's raining by my standards. It's not actually raining.
Okay, but it's dewy / rainy.
There was, yeah.
So what's going on in Aggieland? We got a lot of stuff, non-sports happening too.
Yeah, it's family weekend, ring day. So there's a lot happening in College Station this weekend. Busy weekend. On the athletic side, tennis has a match this morning at 10 a.m. They host Mississippi State at the Mitchell Tennis Center. The Aggies are 19-2 and 10-1 in SEC play, and they are currently on a 65-game win streak at home. So they are looking to extend that. And since it is family weekend, there's free admission for all the fans. So get out to Mitchell Tennis Center today and support your Aggies. On the diamond, Texas A&M softball is on a 7-game win streak as they run-ruled Prairie View A&M this past week 10-0 in 5 innings. They have now outscored their opponents 63-7 in their last 6 games, and they head to Athens this weekend to take on number 16 Georgia in a 3-game series. First pitch is set for tomorrow at 4 p.m., and they will wrap up the series on Monday evening with the first pitch set for 5 p.m. Texas A&M baseball had a great offensive showing on Tuesday night. I'm sure we'll hear about that. When the baseball bunch comes in against Incarnate Word, they run-ruled them 21-1 in 7 innings, and they look to keep their bats hot this weekend as they travel to Knoxville, Tennessee to face the number 1 team in the Tennessee Volunteers, who are 27-2 overall and carry a 7-game win streak into this weekend's series. And the first pitch for that one is set for tonight at 6 p.m. And lastly, Texas A&M basketball's Henry Coleman was named the 2025 Nolan Richardson Player of the Year. They announced yesterday. The award is presented annually to a college basketball player who is the heart and soul of his team and a leader on and off the court. And I think that perfectly encapsulates who Henry Coleman is as a player and as a person. So congratulations to him.
Awesome stuff, Callie. Appreciate you. We're going to talk some Aggie hoops here in a moment. I think John Pugliese will be joining us to talk about the latest search here on the program. I don't know what Nick's doing. He's telling me.
Sorry, I was motioning. I was talking to Callie. I was motioning to her.
Nick's like scooted up forward.
I'm just trying to tell her she can leave the studio, but
gosh, all right, Nick. Anyway, for those who are listening on radio, Nick was signaling, and I scooted up, but he was talking to Callie because he's on a camera. Anyway, let's get to a message as we get John Pugliese on the line. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer.
So we do have a message about baseball. And they're asking if it is necessary to win, obviously, 1 game, but what will 2 do for this team, winning 2 games this week?
Against Tennessee, what would it do? Whatever tiny hope some people have will grow. Look what they did against Tennessee. And by the way, it'll grow for me too. I know that, there's nothing they can really do to turn the season around for the masses because you go from number 1 in the country to the worst team in the SEC, right? But if you just give me a little bit of hope, hope's not a strategy. We discussed that yesterday. You give me a little bit of hope, it just makes it a little bit more intriguing. All right, look what they did against Tennessee. If they can go on the road and win against Tennessee, the number 1 team in the country, what can they do when they go to Georgia? What can they do when they go to Texas? What can they do when they take on LSU? So there's a part of me I'm starting to write the season in my head as how it's going to end. And I don't want to do that yet, right? And I know I'm not the only one. It looks like it's trending in this direction. It is trending in this direction. It's not looking. It is, right? So give me a little bit of hope. And I know I try to get hope against Kentucky, against a team that's not that good, and you lost 2 of 3. But you beat Tennessee, big if, you beat Tennessee, then there's a little bit more hope. But the reality is people have made up their mind, and I'm hoping to not make up my mind. My mind is trending in a direction. I'm hoping not to close the case shut. Let's go to the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. John Pugliese, all over Twitter with Buzz Williams news, coaching search news. He is all over it. Pugliese, what up?
Listen, I know that I'm not a journalist, okay? I know that. But this is one of the first times that my DMs and my text messages have been blowing up with information like I was a journalist. It's really, really wild, David, and I don't know if I can handle it anymore. I would love for this thing to be done.
Well, all right. I remember, and I don't know, tell me if I start going in a direction you don't want me to go, John, but a few weeks back, you had heard some stuff about Buzz, and you reached out to me, and we kind of went back and forth on it. So you had heard this was in the pipeline for a while. Then what?
Yeah, so I had heard going back to the middle of the year that some things had happened within Buzz's relationships in the athletic department. And I'm nothing like nefarious, right? Like Buzz wanted an extension, more money along those lines, didn't get it. And it was very real that he was going to be going somewhere else. When they were, top 10 in the country, prior to DeVries kind of being locked in at Indiana, which obviously we know now happened a lot earlier than anyone knew, that was the move for Indiana. Was they were really locked in on Buzz as one of their kind of top candidates, and Buzz wanted that job. And then, they hit a skid. Things are going a little bit differently, and DeVries gets locked in at West Virginia, and Buzz is, looking for another gig. So, yeah, I had heard that Buzz was in the mix somewhere else for a while. Listen, like 8 seniors, you lose 8 seniors, people are starting to talk about your NCAA tournament, success. I've said this all along, like Buzz hasn't stayed anywhere long, right? 6 years is kind of his mark. And, there he goes where there's smoke, there's fire on that stuff. And I just think, it was going back, it was a great hire. And now, we need another really good one, and it's blowing up. And, who to really trust with information, I don't know. Too many sources means too many people know. Too many sources means too many people know something. And, so today we're sitting here like, are we going to have a head coach by the end of the weekend so we can start working in the portal?
So I want to do maybe one or two more things on Buzz and then get to the actual coaching search. But I give Buzz a B, maybe even a C+ at his time at A&M. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's just how I look at it because of what my expectations, what his tenure should have looked like, but also recognizing how much fun I had covering that basketball team since I've been here. Since I've been here, July of 21, I have enjoyed every moment of covering those players, from Quentin Jackson through Henry Coleman, who just got awarded yesterday, to everybody, Wade Taylor, Anderson Garcia. And they gave me some really exciting times in basketball. But if I were to give it a grade based on what my expectations were of hiring him, / expectations going into this year with 8 seniors, and also the salary that he commanded during most of that, right, where he ranked amongst other coaches, I think a B is probably fair, and maybe even a C. How would you grade his tenure at A&M?
Listen, like I've been called a Buzz hater. I try and look at the way that this team played and the job that their coaching staff has done from a coach's lens, because that's what I am. I am not a journalist. And I was pretty harsh on him, but I was just being honest and truthful about what I was seeing on the court and what they were doing, right? I was breaking things down the way I would always break something down. I would give Buzz a B, with all things considered, and you bring up some great points. He was top 15 in the country in salary. He had 8 seniors. He was here for 6 years. They only won 2 NCAA tournament games. Like all those things considered, I understand the C. I would probably give it a B, because you got to remember where this program was when he took over. They were 2 years off of a Sweet 16, but they were pretty bad that last year under Billy Kennedy. And Reed Arena was really, really empty. And that, I had season tickets for 3 years. People don't know that. I paid for 3 season tickets for 3 years. The basketball wasn't good at the end of Billy Kennedy's tenure. And, for year one of Buzz, it wasn't great, but it got better and better. That Quentin Jackson run to the finals of the SEC tournament, right? Like the way that he brought in different dudes, Dexter Dennis, he brought in some transfers. He did bring excitement to Reed Arena, even if it was for the casual fan who only watched during when Kentucky came to town or Tennessee was number one in the country or Bama was in town, right? And so I give it a B, and it could have been so much better. This year should have been so much better. And a lot of the heat that I got was based on this idea that Buzz, his quote was something like, and this is not the quote, but it was something like in his presser, winning games in March and in the NCAA tournament does not define a successful season. And it really does, y'all. At this level, if you are getting into the NCAA tournament, right? 2 teams from the SEC got into the NCAA tournament with 6-12 records. Because of realignment, if you get into the NCAA tournament, you are a Power 5 team, that is not enough anymore. You should be getting into the NCAA tournament, and then you should be winning multiple games, which is why you saw 3-4 teams from the SEC in the Elite Eight, right? It's why you saw so many teams from the SEC in the NCAA tournament. But you're supposed to win games. And in year 6, when you've got 8 seniors and you're in the SEC and you were as good as you were this year, you've got to win more than a game for it to be a successful year. That's just reality now. And so I think it was time when Buzz said that. I already knew he was out, but when Buzz said that, I said, oh, yeah, he's gone. Because that's not the mark of someone who's trying to pump up a fan base, who's looking forward to next year, all of that stuff. And so when he said that towards the end of the year, I was like, all right, he's already looking. And then the dominoes had to fall for Kevin Willard to take Villanova and kind of, try and destroy Maryland on his way out with some of the things he said. That was a better fit for him right now. And I actually think, David, that the Big Ten's a great fit for Buzz. The way they play, that style, I think it's a great fit for Buzz.
Talking to John Pugliese here on TexAgs Live. John, all right, so they try to get Chris Beard. Seemed like from a basketball perspective, slam dunk, it would have been great. Didn't end up going that way. But now there's a bunch of names and a lot of rumors and up-and-comers and yada, yada, yada. So just kind of give me your thoughts on some of the names that are rumored to be A&M and maybe some of the lesser-known names and what the opinions of maybe the coaching community thinks.
I think they had to swing on McCaslin, on Beard, and on TJ Otzelberger. Those are 3 of the coaches that I said right away, and most people said right away, you gotta take a shot at them. I think that was the right move at the time. I thought they needed a Power 5 coach. If they could get one right away, that was the move, and I think it was the right thing to do at the time. I'm in the camp of really 2 people, and I know Billy's talked a lot about Bucky McMillan, and I think Bucky's a really good coach and has some unique ideas and has had success, and what a great high school coach. And people are comparing his the things he's done to Nate Oates when he was at Romulus High School and then went to Buffalo. And so I get all the connections, and I think Bucky is a unique hire who would be interesting to watch, and to see him in the SEC would be unique, to say the least. But he plays 4 non-Division I teams a year. So of his 22 wins this year, 4 were from non-D1s. And that's happened every year that he's been at Samford. That's not a knock. It's just a reality. I'm a little bit concerned as to how his style of play and what he does and his ability to work the portal kind of navigates the SEC and at Texas A&M and in the state of Texas. It doesn't mean it would be a bad hire. It would just be more unique than the other 2 that I'm most inclined to want. I love Alan Huss. When people who are my friends, people who I know who are coaches at high levels, tell me that they don't want to play Alan Huss, they don't want to play High Point, I know that's a great coach, right? Like that's a reality. High Point could use the money. No one wants to play High Point. So when you've got a guy like Alan Huss, who is a McDermott guy, who has won his league twice, who has won a ton of games at a job that's not easy. I mean, High Point was Division II until 2002. You know, like, and he took over a not so great situation, right? 46 wins in the previous 4 years, and he's got 53-2. You know, like, yo, count me in on that guy. You know, so Alan Huss there, he's got 56-2, 56-15 in 2 years. The previous 4 years before he got the job, there were 46-73. Averaged 82 points a game. So people are talking about Bucky's, you know, his offensive acumen, and you've got a guy who's done it on both ends now, and that was the knock on Alan Huss. Well, they were really bad defensively his first year. Well, all he did in the second year was lead the league in scoring defense, field goal percentage defense, and field goal percentage offense, and averaged 82 points a game. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. So Alan Huss is my number one. Like, if you know, that's who I would have gone after as soon as the 3 Power 5 coaches said no. Steve Lutz is my number 2, and not really in that order, but is the second coach that I would be trying to get on right now. Now, Steve Lutz has a huge buyout at Oklahoma State. I'm not sure that matters, but Steve took Texas A&M Corpus Christi to 2 NCAA tournaments, which is one of the hardest jobs in the Southland. And then he took Western Kentucky to the tournament. If he had stayed at Western Kentucky and hadn't left for Oklahoma State, probably would have had another great year at Western Kentucky. Instead, he goes to Oklahoma State, a team that wasn't great, was in some turmoil in Coach Boynton's last year, and he makes them respectable. 17-18, quarterfinals in NIT, right? Does some really good stuff. 7-13 in the Big 12. You know, 7-13 in the SEC got you into the NCAA tournament this year. And Steve's a Texan. Steve understands the junior college landscape, having spent time in JUCO ranks. Steve worked under another McDermott guy, right? You worked under McDermott. You worked under Matt Painter. Those are the 2 that I'm most excited about. And those are the 2 that I would be flying really hard into. You know, we've heard a lot about Steve Forbes, right? He's got connections to SEC. He's got different connections to different guys. Not as exciting for me. Chris Mack was not exciting for me. Not that Chris Mack's a bad coach, but that, you know, just not an exciting hire for me. And so I'm really locked in on those 2, but I know there's some smoke with Lucky McMillan, and it would certainly be a unique case for Texas A&M to hire a guy like Bucky.
All right, just for the conversation's sake before we hit a break, if it is Bucky, give me some of the things that you would be excited about watching from him.
I mean, they play an exciting style of basketball. He's played a really exciting style of basketball. People enjoy watching his teams play. It's different. You know, you're gonna see. You know, the way that Buzz used full court pressure, right? The way that he used full court pressure was to slow things down, David. You know, to get teams to play at his pace. Well, Bucky uses full court pressure to speed you up, and he uses full court pressure to get you moving. And to take more threes and make decisions that you wouldn't normally make. When you do that with Power 5 coaches, think about what Shaka Smart tried to do at Texas. It just didn't work out great, right? His full court pressure didn't speed people up the way that it had with Havoc in VCU. So Bucky's going to use some different pressures in some different ways. He's going to shoot a lot of threes. He's going to get up and down the court. And he's going to put pressure on these Power 5 coaches to really have a game plan as to how to attack his system. You're not going to see a slow team, I'll tell you that much. You all want pace. You all want excitement. You're not going to see a team that struggles to get some shots up.
That is John Pugliese on the Bubby's Catering Hotline. John, we appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, David.
See you, man. John Pugliese, breaking it down. We'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, the baseball bunch, a little bit late for them. Want to talk about Heritage Films. That's Chance McClain's company. He's a friend of mine. He's been on this show before. He's a good old boy, loves Texas A&M. His daughter Gunn went to school here. He just gets our style. But the thing that makes him great is he makes these awesome documentaries about preserving family stories that otherwise would be lost forever. Imagine capturing your father's journey, your grandfather's struggles, your family business, how it all got started, your family ranch, the humble beginnings, your entire family legacy in a professional cinematic documentary form. They're not just random videos. We're talking about HBO, Netflix quality films that your entire family can feel a part of, even talk in it, even just enjoy the moment together. He travels the nation, spending weeks and crafting these awesome stories for everybody's family. And you can trust me, it's something that you'll really wish you had done later on in life. If you skip the moment, you're going to regret it. Call Chance Help, 713-893-8341, or visit yourheritagefilm.com. This just isn't a service. It's a time machine for your family's most precious memories. let's hop on to a baseball bunch discussion here on TexAgs Live. Hello, friends, baseball bunch friends. Ryan Brauninger.
We're baseball pundits.
Yeah, sorry, the baseball pundits.
Social media, we're baseball pundits.
And we're good at making excuses, apparently.
Oh, I'm going to be real good today.
Scott Clendenin, hello, sir.
Howdy.
Richard Zane, hey, buddy.
Howdy.
Ryan Brauninger, hi.
It's bulk trash pickup day in my neighborhood, and so I started my morning with carrying wooden pallets out to our front yard for them to be picked up.
Okay.
One of them, my lovely wife, is a gardener. One of them had mulch in it. So when I dropped it down on the ground, the mulch flew up, and now I've got allergies all in my face. So you're going to deal with red-eyed Bronny for the segment.
You know, honestly,
nothing nefarious happened. The Hot Dog City director of botanicals and horticulture, she doesn't work here anymore.
Shut up. I don't know how to take that. Yep, over my head. All right, Scotty, we're going to start off with you.
Oh, thanks.
14, Mr. Pundit.
I'll move over to the hot seat.
Yeah, what is up with this?
Stop asking questions, David. Ask him a question. Don't worry about what we're doing
Stop
around here.
asking questions, but ask him a question.
All right, Serrano, let's get right into it, all right?
All right.
He's Serrano?
I want to be Serrano.
You know who Serrano is?
Yeah, of course.
I know you do. Do you know?
Yeah. Like for Major League?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was making
Long-time
sure.
All-State insurance guy.
That's true. And also the President of the United States.
In what movie?
The show with Kiefer Sutherland, 24.
24.
The President. President Palmer?
I don't know.
President Palmer can hit the curveball.
Yeah.
Let's just go on.
14 and 14, 1-8 in the SEC. Okay. So I talked hope of this weekend. Let's just talk about where we are and what we know what needs to happen. Where we are, but what needs to happen to inspire a little bit of hope.
Well, I think the point that that was made on if you won a series this weekend, they've won 12 straight SEC series. It's the longest Tennessee's ever gone winning SEC series. If you went to their place and won the series, you would gather hope. There's no doubt about it. The problem is you have to go to Tennessee to win that series. And I went through just to find anything. Do they struggle any at all against lefties? Yes, they do. They're hitting .316 against lefties when they're hitting .319 against righties. So there's my struggle. There's my hope. Now they haven't seen these three lefties, and when these three lefties are really good, you could have some hope there. But I mean, I looked at some of those things, and I'm like, then why even try to look for hope and just look for better baseball? You have to play better baseball, and if you put together what you were before last weekend, pitching wise, and you carry on some of the hitting you had last week, then you have a position where you can have some hope. The problem is, once again, here we are. What's the lineup going to be? Who's going to be available? Gavin Cash is on the report is out. And the constant change week after week has been the only thing that I am sure of is I'm not going to see the lineup that I saw have some success more than 2 or 3 games. That's just how this year has been.
Richard, follow that, please.
The hope is that they just haven't played a complete game or series yet, and you keep waiting and waiting for that to happen. Eventually, the rule of whatever, it's eventually going to happen, right? It's eventually going to happen that they are going to play a complete weekend. From the offense to the defense, the starting pitching, the bullpen, eventually it's all going to come together. The hope is it has to be this weekend. It has to be this weekend against this team in that ballpark, or else, your already slim postseason chances are going to dwindle even further.
Well, yeah, I think you've put yourself in a scenario where, unfortunately, you are at a spot with your back completely against the wall, 0 wiggle room available, and you're going to the number 1 team in the country to try to win 2 out of 3 at their ballpark where they run balls out of there at an extremely high rate. And there's a lot of stuff that's gone on with this baseball season that you could have never, ever convinced me or Scott or Richard of in January. There's a lot of stuff. The number one thing is I can't believe that we were doing our preseason prognostications and looking at the schedule. This was going to be the series. It's a rematch of last year's College World Series final. You're probably going to have, it's going to be a top 5 matchup. A new head coach in Mike Early going and taking on Tony Vitello, who had a similar start when he got the job at Tennessee. And it was all the storylines were going to be embedded on both sides as a premier matchup in college baseball. It's one of the reasons that 2 of the 3 games are on national networks. they're going to be broadcast on regular TV. But here we are, and A&M is very much limping into a series that they have got to have. I don't know how you – hope is one thing, and I think if you look at hoping to win the series, even for this A&M team, David, we've talked about this during the week. Like, I think the focus has got to narrow even more than this weekend. Like, the focus has just got to be on tonight. And I think that helps the team overall not look at this giant mountain they have to climb, but I also think it helps their mentality within the game of baseball. Because if you start worrying about the past or looking at the future in this game, it can really, really eat you up. You've got a little bit more wiggle room and leeway to look at the future if you're going like Tennessee. If you're going like A&M, it's got to be this pitch in this moment and move on to the next one.
I love what he said about focusing on tonight, because, and especially when your guy is going for you tonight. Ryan Brauninger, obviously, last weekend, not a great start, but every time Ryan Brauninger has the ball in his hand, I have confidence that A&M is going to have a chance to win the ball game, regardless if they're going the way they are now or if they were playing like they were last year.
Scotty, the fact that this is against the team that beat you in the College World Series final, the fact that it was supposed to be all the things that Bronny talked about, and it's not. What do you think the players that played in that game and played in that series, like, can they be singularly focused on just tonight? Can they be thinking about what happened then? Like, what do you think is going through their heads?
I don't think they're thinking about last year at all. I think they understand how good Tennessee is.
They better not be thinking about last year.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Ryan Brauninger that question yesterday at the press conference. He said it hasn't come up once in the clubhouse.
So their focus needs to be on the first inning of the game tonight. And that's I think this team has enough veteran guys in the lineup. I know Terrence Kill II's not going to be thinking about it, but you have guys after that. Hensler's not going to think about it. So where, is Laviolette going to think about it? No, he's going to be focused on trying to get a win tonight. And that is the best part about getting to play ball, when you always have a chance to put some of that stuff behind you. And I think that's where this team needs to focus. Now, what the number is, how many games you have to win, that doesn't matter unless you play good baseball today. Because if you give Tennessee a chance to wash over you in game one, then it is going to affect you in game two and game three. You have to play good baseball. If you lose a good baseball game because Tennessee is better than you and you just couldn't get up to their level, fine. You just can't have them wash over you, because you take all the things that's going on this season and compound it into, man, last year we were 3 outs away. I don't think these.
And nobody cares anymore.
Yes.
Nobody cares about that anymore. Not the guys in the clubhouse, not the fan base, not anybody of substance at Texas A&M. What happened last summer in Omaha does not matter anymore to anybody of note. I think that, to Scott's point, you're gonna, if you play a great brand of baseball, you could still lose to Tennessee, like you could every weekend in this league. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing that Mike Early said in yesterday's press conference is the time for moral victories is out the window. We got to win games, and he's absolutely correct in that. And if we can talk about what they need to do, Scott and I differ a little bit. I think they got to get to 14 conference wins, because their RPI is already over 100. You got to get to 14 conference wins, and you cannot have hardly any more slip-ups in the midweek. That's a tall, tall task based off what we've seen. It's not impossible, but it is bleak.
The names on the jerseys are the same, but the teams are not, right? Go look at A&M's lineup from Tuesday night. It's the lineup I imagine we'll see tonight in Knoxville. 6 of the 9 guys did not have an at-bat against Tennessee last year at Omaha. Tennessee's best player, Gavin Killen, was at Louisville. Their starting pitcher tonight, Liam Doyle, Ole Miss. Different teams.
Let's continue that on the other side, because we're a little bit late for a break. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them at Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Great selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks. They got the flatbed trucks. They got the medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They got SUVs. They got the mids. They got it all, right? When you go there, you know you're going to be getting good customer service, great pricing, great trade-in value, and just a great experience overall. On that customer service, complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. And you also get complimentary oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They have a strong, committed sales staff with many, many years of experience, making sure that your experience will be satisfied. Again, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. The Baseball Bunch here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Brauninger, Richard Zane, Scotty Clendenin. Scotty, we were going to continue the thought about what A&M has to do to be in the postseason. And I know for some, it's like, why are we even talking about that? Like, there's no chance. But there is a chance if what?
Well, I think that one of the things that we don't know is we don't know how the NCAA is going to react to the SEC as an expanded conference. And I think that that's where I didn't expect the Texas Longhorns, who'd won one of every 3 basketball games, to go to the NCAA tournament this year. But they got in. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know where that is. So I don't know if 14 and 16, which is 99% of the time been the level you have to get to, becomes 13 or becomes 12.
Yeah.
That I don't know yet. Now, there are teams at the bottom of this conference, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina A&M, and even Missouri, that if we win games in the second half of the league, because they're not playing the top teams every single weekend, maybe they have a chance. So I think that's where there's uncertainty there. And then I'm going to quote somebody. Remember, Red, hope is a good thing. It might be the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. So there you go. I'll go Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank. There you go.
Go Stephen King. There you go. I got a chuckle.
Well, whatever the number that you believe that it is, whatever you believe the number is that this team has to get to in order to make the postseason, they've got to play a better brand of baseball to get there. I'm talking like if they've got to get to 25 overall wins, 30 overall wins, whatever you think the number is. They're not
going to get there the way they're playing now.
Absolutely.
And who do they have to play?
Right. Their schedule, you talked about them not, like the teams at the bottom not having to play the teams at the top. A&M does. A&M definitely does. And so trying to squeeze out 13 or 14 conference wins mentally right now is tough. Again, like I said, I even wrote it this week in my article, it's not an impossible task, but it is bleak. And can this team rally and do it? I still believe in them. I still believe in the kids and their talent level. My issue is that at no point in this season, like Richard said, they haven't played a complete game yet. And they have not played anywhere close to consistent complementary baseball. When one element plays well, a couple others falter. That has been the most consistent thing we've seen with this team.
Richard, anything on that?
No. I mean, I'm not going to. I don't want to talk about numbers and what they have to get to. They just got to get to 2 today.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm focused on.
All right. Well,
before we get off this, last year, Florida was 27 and 26 and 12 and 17 in the SEC when they played Georgia in the last game of the regular season. They won that to assure them if they lost in the first round of the SEC tournament, which they did, that they would have a winning record and were eligible to go to the NCAA tournament. They were 13 and 17. They lost that first game, so they actually became 13 and 18, and they played in Omaha. And that team had a lot of similarities to this A&M team. But only thing that mattered was they had to win games. And until they won that game, they had not won a series in the SEC from the first weekend of the year until the last. They were not winning series, and they were not winning midweek games. And it was like, well, they're not going to get in, especially when they go to Georgia and lose on this last game of the year. So is it impossible? It's next to impossible. But you still have that opportunity. LSU last year
3 and 12.
3 and 12. Now, who they played the second half of the year is not who A&M plays. But they had 3 and 12. You had to win and win and win. That is, as you're back against the wall as much as it could be. Now, they'd beaten some teams in non-conference that Florida didn't. And that's why their overall record, they didn't have to worry about being 500.
Well, and I think we have to start turning the conversation to how do they get one tonight or how do they get multiple this weekend? And they are going to have to compete with Tennessee offensively. Point blank in the story, because as much as I believe in Prager, Lampkin, and Patton, this offense is too good to expect them to go out there and give you Vanderbilt-type starts like they did against Vanderbilt. It's not going to happen. That ballpark isn't conducive to it, and certainly that Tennessee lineup isn't conducive to it. So how do you compete? And you have to hope that the starting rotation that we saw for most of the year shows up this weekend, because if what happened last week against Kentucky happens this weekend, you got no shot. You just don't. Tennessee's pitching staff is way too good, way too deep. It's on the other end of the spectrum in the league from Kentucky. So can you get Liam Doyle out of the game and start digging into that bullpen? He has shown no signs that anybody is able to do that. He is climbing up draft boards at an incredible pace. It's a massive challenge tonight for the A&M offense.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break, because I do want to touch on how they do that beyond, and also the injury situation, because we did get a little more clarity on Josh Stewart, Gavin Cash's situation, and Caden Sorrells. Right now we're talking Milliken Reserve, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces. They have a mission to build a healthy community around nature, and they've done so by treading lightly on that beautiful land. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. They have 2,600 acres of open space. They've got 30 miles of trails and homes. They got beautiful farms, and they're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. When you go to Milliken Reserve, you'll see the white-tailed deer, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles. And also, if you like just to be outdoors, that's the place to go. You can go hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking. They've got the equestrian trails. They've got so many different options for your family to do when you're there. And also, real estate there, awesome neighborhoods. You got to check them out. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Can't cry about it now, but injury situations, Josh Stewart out for the year, it looks like. We're trying to figure out what's going on with Gavin Cash. And Caden Sorrell's ongoing hamstring issues. Bronny, start us off.
Well, you got to stop bringing up injuries, right? We're getting accused of making those as excuses, like legitimate injuries. These are excuses being made by pundits, right?
Here's how I've always talked about the injuries. Early in the year, I thought they were a massive story. But as this team continues to play, they become less and less of a story.
Sure.
And they are part of a confluence of issues facing this baseball team. Not the sole reason, but it's part of the confluence of issues. And I do think that if you strap some other teams in this league with similar injuries, they would have big-time issues.
Yep.
Absolutely. But it's not the sole reason that this team's playing poorly. It isn't. There's a lot, like I just said in the last segment, every element of this team has struggled to a certain extent, some to varying degrees, as a matter of fact, at different parts of the year. And at no part of the year have they all played well together. None. Zero. That's a way bigger issue than anything that's happened on the injury front. Now, we are halfway through the season. Do we anticipate seeing a completely different ball club and completely different outcome from this point on? I don't anticipate that, but I do believe, because I believe in the players on this team, that it can happen. I'm not anticipating it.
Well, and I think that I actually looked at the injury report for everybody in the league, and the teams that are at the bottom of it have more injuries than anybody else. They're the ones this week, and I'm looking at a snapshot of this week because I haven't followed it every week. They're the teams with the SEC injury report that have more injuries than everybody else. So it is. I don't know if that's the cause for other teams struggling, or give credit to the teams that have beat them and put them in that position that they play better baseball. And I mean, that's where not following everything that's going on with Florida. Florida's not been a team that I've followed every single day on what they've done.
You know,
the other teams are the same way.
I talked to a pro scout yesterday that said he thought that the biggest injury for this A&M team was Shane Sadeo. And I was like, I don't even think about Sadeo being part of this because we knew it going in that he wasn't going to be a part of it.
Yep.
So it's interesting how different people in real baseball circles kind of view the injury situation. As guys that cover the team day to day, it is a massive story to this year, but it is not the sole reason they're losing games.
And as somebody who covers the team, we're going to continue to report injury news as it comes out, because guess what? That's the job. It's not excuse making.
Well, it's when things happen, as you said, you report it. And it's up to us to decide in the audience if that is a major contributor to what is happening. But fact remains, it happened. It does affect the team. All right, so Bronny touched
on... How many times did y'all talk about Le'Veon Moss being hurt?
I still talk about it.
It's because it's noteworthy.
It's noteworthy. It doesn't excuse losses,
right?
But it is part of the conversation, 100%. So, Bronny, you touched on it in the last segment, what they have to do to win tonight. Richard, start us off on offensively what they got to do.
I mean, Bronny said it's a tall task, it's daunting, but you've got to find a way to get to Liam Doyle. And he strikes out almost 18 guys per 9 innings. You got to, you've been good the last couple I wouldn't say the last couple weeks. You've been good the last 4 or 5 games about cutting down the strikeout numbers. You got to continue that. Put balls in play. Put pressure on the Tennessee defense. But yeah, you've got to find a way to get Doyle out of the game early. Much easier said than done. And you've got to get to the Tennessee bullpen. Although they've got plenty of arms back there that are capable of taking over and commanding a game. So from an offensive standpoint, you've got to find a way to keep punching just the way Tennessee's going to keep punching. And then I think it begins and ends with starting pitching. For tonight, A&M to have a chance, it's going to have to be another Ryan Prager masterclass. And I believe he's fully capable of bouncing back from a rough outing against Kentucky. But he's got to do it. And he's going to have to do it against one of the nation's best offenses at a bandbox of a ballpark.
Scotty?
Well, I think that there are some guys that have struggled to hit some lefties that have to have some success tonight against Doyle. And you're talking about the best lefty in college baseball this year. So, and then the right-handers that you do have in the lineup. Does Blake Benderup have a game where the balls that he's hitting that go out at Tennessee, multiple balls that he has hit at A&M that haven't left the ballpark, do they go out at Tennessee because it's a bandbox? That's what we have to see.
Yep.
And it's going to take somebody doing something like that adds to the guys you fully expect to have the ability to have success. Those guys need to have some, and that gives A&M a chance. in a ballpark that both teams can see it play as an offensive ballpark?
I would do my best to eliminate pitches off of Liam Doyle tonight, and I would do different ones from different sides of the plate. If I'm a left-hander, to me, I think I've got to get to that heavy ride-run fastball, right? And I've got to kind of preset my sights to do it because it's so stinking good. But the big thing is he gets so much chase because of the shape and element of the pitches. Just control the strike zone. Swing, and that's something A&M struggled with. Swing at strikes tonight and see what that, at a high percentage, and see if that lends you success. Can you just swing at strikes?
You watching anybody in particular this weekend?
The whole team.
The whole team. As a reminder, the final segment of the program brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Baseball Bunch, guys, thank you. We'll be back with Billy Liucci. And we are back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3. We should have Billy on the phone or in person here momentarily. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Censor, and we check in with Callie Garner. So the YouTube page and the TexAgs.com page and the texts have been coming in today. I feel like there's some arguments going on between Texas and Texas A&M. I feel like there's a lot of conversation about no belief in the baseball team and trying to figure out the basketball coaching search. So which comment do you want to single out to get us going?
Well, we do have one on the TexAgs chat that says, given all of the players do not do not contact tags, it's obvious they're following Buzz, in my opinion. Just remember, if we hire a coach who has good players, we'll probably just raid their school.
Yep. I don't know how. I mean, if you're getting a guy from a mid-major school, I would doubt their NIL package would be very similar to what ours is. I could be wrong. I would doubt it. We'll have to see. Although I did read an article recently that the mid-majors are set up to do really well in this new world of NIL because some of them, that's what their number one sport is. And, you know, not all schools are like A&M, Texas, Alabama have these funds. Ole Miss is spending a lot of money. But they can't have all their funds going to basketball if a lot of them are going to football. So that is an interesting part of it. But, yeah, you would expect that a player or two would follow. And look, I give Buzz this credit. He builds a family. He keeps them so separated from the rest of the world, which is, by the way, great. Do you have any notes on Henry Coleman? Because I know we had the I have it on mine. He did get the award yesterday. I want to make sure I label it by the right name. I have it here at the 8 o'clock hour. It is selected as from the field of 20 finalists as the Nolan Richardson Player of the Year, presented annually to the college basketball player who is the heart and soul of his team and leader on and off the court, by collegeinsider.com. Doesn't he kind of fit like everything that A&M's about? I feel like Henry encapsulates that.
He's definitely grown to fit the culture of A&M, and I watched that interview where his parents surprised him telling him that.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Very good. What other comments do you have?
Well, I have a question for you.
Okay, I got an answer.
Who are you most excited about to see for this upcoming football season? I know I have
player-wise?
Yes, I have my opinion, but I want to hear yours.
Most excited. I'll take this multiple ways because I'm a talk show host and I tap dance at times. I mean, I'm really excited about seeing Ruben Owens and Le'Veon Moss healthy, right? Casey Concepcion, what he could like. You want one player. I'm going to struggle with it. What year 2 of Terry Bussey looks like with all that talent that he has. Those are ones that I'm thinking about. I'll ask Billy. I want to do football with Billy later in the show, but I'll ask Billy here on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Billy, Callie just asked me which player I am most excited about watching on the football roster next year. That's a hard question, man. Do you have one?
Single player on the whole roster?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer one. Yep.
You know I'm not going to be able to, but I would say, I mean, for me, Casey Concepcion is way up there. I'd almost break it down. Freshman ranks, Marco Jones, newcomer, or overall, I think it might be Concepcion, and then I'll go with a newcomer, and man, I'm pretty fired up. If early spring if early spring is any indicator, I would really want to see Amari Niblack in the passing game. My other one, surely I'm not speeding. Nope.
Gotcha.
No. I was like, for once, I'm not.
I would want to listen to it, by the way, if that happened.
Yeah, we could have kept going. The other one would be defensively, man. Will Lee looks really like. When I say Will Lee looks good, Will Lee looks ready. But he was good last year, so when you factor that in, he was good on the field last year, and man, he looks like $1 million. And he just physically, the way he's moving around out there, like I think he'll be the best player on the defense. And B, I think he's like ready for first team all SEC type of season. And when you combine that with his measurables and his quickness, speed, agility, all those things, I think he'll test really well. Like he looks like a really high draft pick is what he looks like to me. And I'm trying to think of the last time we've been able to say that about an A&M corner. And if I'm crazy and somebody says, "Oh, it was 2 years ago," then I'm wrong. But I can't, off the top of my head, think of that.
Billy, do you get a chance to go ahead?
I might go back. You might have. I mean, when's the last time we've said that about an A&M corner that they could be, drafted in the first couple rounds? And damn, it's been a while, right?
Yeah. Did you get a chance to listen to the baseball pundits hour that we just did?
No, I did not. I chose to eat breakfast instead. But I will. I always enjoy the round table.
Those guys
Except when they get too, when they get too morose and serious.
Well, it was a serious hour. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's serious times, no doubt.
All right, let's. Are you close to? You want me to hit an early break? Do you want to just go from here?
Yeah, you can hit an early break. But why did you ask me if I listen?
I just wanted to ask the question if you listen to the pundits. I didn't know. I just wanted to hear because they're good.
So just for no reason, or was there some specific?
I mean, I just wanted to know what you thought about their reasoning and the excuse making and what But it's all good. We can move on.
What's the excuse make? I don't know. I guess you're leading into something that I probably should have heard. Did it involve like Twitter?
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. I was on Twitter yesterday. I saw stuff. Sure.
Okay, good. I'll look forward to listening. But yeah, you can take us to a break.
All right, man. I'll talk to you in a minute. Billy Liucci on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Billy in studio. We'll talk basketball. Get your questions into Callie. All right. Kallie's job is easier when I tap dance when she's got questions. She loves the comments too, right? You like the comments, but then the comments you're like, but hold on, where did it start? Because it went from here to here, and like they were fighting about this, but then they ended up with this. I get it. So she likes the actual questions. So maybe you'll have some questions for Billy on the other side. Right now, let's talk about the Association of Former Students. If your business or organization is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking like Aggie Ring Day, hello, today. All Aggie Hullabaloo gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand, and they include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, and recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program. I saw this note from Ross Dellinger. Just thought I would read it out loud. A notable, by the way, Billy is here. He's just holding court. He's having fun. A notable story heading into the new rev share era. Cal's biggest boosters have pulled their NIL donations until the school meets their singular demand. Put newly hired GM and former NFL head coach Ron Rivera fully in charge of Cal football. Interesting. The power that dollars have. So again, Cal, which I don't think about Cal and their ability to, I don't think about their NIL, but Billy, I'm reading it out loud. Cal's biggest boosters have pulled their NIL donations until the school meets their singular demand. Put a newly hired GM and former NFL head coach Ron Rivera fully in charge of Cal football. Very interesting.
Rivera, what's the deal? Who's in charge of it right now?
I believe Ron Rivera is in charge, but they want to put him completely in charge. Newly hired GM. He's their newly hired GM. So they want to put him fully in charge of all of Cal football, not just the personnel side.
Sounds like some kind of movement TexAgs would lead with some,
When you say
somebody
TexAgs,
that becomes a famous or a popular person on the message boards, we decide we're going to demand that he gets full control.
Dermdock in charge of baseball.
And, yeah, like that. No, I don't know. I just think anytime those type things are going on, it's just, it's Cal football.
Do people care?
No. To answer your question, no.
And that's since Jeff Tedford?
Jeff Tedford, Aaron Rodgers. It's funny, the one time A&M plays Cal, they got Aaron Rodgers, or they didn't have Aaron Rodgers. He had just left. It was the year after they had Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Marshawn Lynch.
Yep.
Other than that, and the band storming the field. Other than that, I don't know if anybody cares.
Anyway, some questions are coming in for you.
Okay.
And of course, some of them are basketball coach search related.
Of course.
So I'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That's where Callie Dreyer is. Callie, give me some of those questions.
This one on the TexAgs chat says, in the midst of all this coaching change stuff, I would love to hear from Billy about how he goes about building relationships with these new coaches and staff as they come in.
It just depends on what connections I've built over the years, people there, and this, David, there's this big misconception around college, no, it's within our fan base with the burners, and then it's like the Texas fans. And the thought process is it just A&M's, TexAgs, the epicenter, We have built this into something that it's impossible to ignore. And that's through our hard work, the subscribers, the people that we've brought in and hired, the money we've invested. It's really, it's not insulting, but you're really taken away from the hard work that went into it to just think that this was handed on a silver platter that we've built up to where we're difficult to ignore. We're, when you come to A&M, you're going to immediately know what TexAgs is because a lot of these coaches know it elsewhere. And I'd said before, I'm rooting for U of H and kept a big fan of Kelvin Sampson. I've always liked him. I wanted A&M to hire him from the Rockets.
Yep.
This was maybe before they hired BK or Turgeon. I forget which one.
BK, I think. It was 2014-ish.
Okay, yeah. So you were working in Houston,
yep.
Right? So, but even Kelvin Sampson, the way we first met is he came up last year at the Memphis game, and hey, I'm a big fan of what you guys do at TexAgs, and he actually enjoyed the Twitter banter and stuff. We were talking about it's bigger because we've made it bigger. So people even that come in have heard of it, whether it be through the SEC network or and that's a testament to everybody. And what some Aggies have, and it's a small group, but I like addressing the loudest losers amongst any fan base, and unfortunately we all have them. But what they fail to recognize is like Aggies are also what got it to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when coaches come in, they've already heard of it, they're already aware of it. They're wondering when's the first time they're going to come be at the desk and be on the show. Sometimes they don't. In this case of these mid-majors that I think, and we'll talk about it in a minute, I think the hire will come kind of from, I want to say mid-major, probably mid-major level. There's a couple Power 5 names to keep an eye on that aren't like, I wouldn't say, we'll talk about it in a minute, some of the names, but not these big names they might not come in and know. You know, like, I'm not saying, don't stop me here, I'm not saying Porter Moser or Steve Forbes. I don't even know, maybe Brad Underwood would know. Like, those people know TexAgs. Forbes was here. That's why when Buzz got here, we already knew Buzz very well. Very well, from when he was the second lowest assistant on the staff under Billy Clyde. That's how long I've known Buzz. That's a relationship. I had no connection or relationship with Mark Turgeon when he got here, and that's just hard work. Some people get jealous of that. Some people think there's a shortcut there. No, if these people don't like, trust, get along with, want to spend time with you, then maybe they're just coming in here to do an interview and that's it. It is part of what not only I do, but most people in sports do.
Yeah.
That are in these seats, fan sites. Sometimes people think there's something wrong with that happening in fan sites. It happens all the time, the highest level, NFL, NBA, you know, you name it, college sports all over, SEC Network, ABC, CBS, you know, that's what happens. So it's funny, is the ones that I didn't know at all in the big three when they got here, never met, never talked to, nothing. Fran, Turgeon, Slosh. But, you know, obviously I knew Mike Early. Obviously I knew Kevin Sumlin. Obviously I knew Buzz. Didn't know Billy Kennedy.
Jimbo.
Did not know Jimbo, but then there's Mark Robinson.
That you did know.
Who was Jimbo's right-hand man, who was the lowest, you know, just his first ever job in college sports was at A&M in like 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And we just became friends and we're going to lunch all the time. And that's part of this, and it's relationship building. So yeah, usually there's some connection there. I'm way past the point of worrying about if there is or not. You know, another example would be Mike Elko. Never met Mike Sherman before, but he coached my roommates when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he coached Steve McKinney, and everybody, you know, Hunter and him were close. So there's always kind of something, and some people will try to make that into a negative. I think it's a tremendous positive, and it's one of the things that I'll sit here and say, well, I'm not good at much, but I'm good at that. And you can say what you want about it, but
and you also
helps.
don't necessarily report on things that are going to hurt the process either. You have, there's a timing that you use.
Oh yeah,
for all parties.
I'm always going to do that for what matters for A&M, and that's not taking shots at other people. That I get frustrated if people do something out there that like thwarts the process. Usually, it's not going to, and I probably err on the side of caution. And that's just I'm the one that's a personal decision, and it's up to me. Like, hey, you might lose this story. It's like the Jimbo firing story. I had that for several days. You know that,
yeah.
But not quite, but
pretty close.
4 or 5 days, and I just didn't. I wanted them to, and I was pressing like, Jimbo needed to know. Their thought was they were going to tell him after the game. I'm like, it sounds insane because that thing will get out when the team's at the hotel, game day, on college game day, Saturday morning, night game. Like, what are, in my opinion, it sounded crazy. It sounded pie in the sky and naive. It worked out that way. I wanted to release it right after the game, like later that night, but I had it on pretty good authority that Jimbo didn't know. And I was like, I'm going to and never talked to Jimbo about it. But I'm not going. My goal was to not put it out before he knew, even at the risk of losing it. But damn, I was hell bent on not losing that one because it was big. It was unexpected. A lot of these are expected. And everyone's in a race to say that Buzz Williams took the Maryland job. The deal is just cover the ramp up, and everybody kind of can suspect. And as long as you're kind of saying, guys, this is where it's trending, it looks like this is going to happen, that was always going to come from the Maryland or agent side. The last thing Buzz Williams was going to do was call A&M and say he was leaving, and I'm not sure he probably even did.
Right.
If quite frankly, I'd be surprised if he gave that courtesy. I mean, and that's not, a lot of coaches don't. So, you know, because you're kind of leaving your boss, and there's kind of sometimes reasons why you are, and it's like, I'm gone, I'm looking forward, it's over.
So you mentioned in that some candidates potentially from Power 4. I don't know if we've talked about. Can we talk about some of these potential candidates that maybe we haven't discussed on the show yet? Because, you know, a lot of the names that we've heard, I think, have been out there for a little bit. Are there some new ones that maybe we can touch on?
I hate when you do this because I don't want.
You alluded to it.
I don't want to answer with a nothing. I'll tell you. Here's what I think, and I'm going to write this in a minute. I think this is actually. I think you had A&M the run at Chris Beard. That was always going to be the first thing, and you've heard enough to know that people saying this, myself included, no one was wrong. No one was exaggerating how close it was. No, the only people that were wrong were anyone that said it was a done deal, which some dumbasses said, and it wasn't true. And they'll just keep saying it because they're burners that just keep going for the engagement. There's been a couple people on this thing that have been so wildly off base. It's insane. Half my work, I feel like, is going on TexAgs and saying, that's not true, that's not true. Got to keep checking. Okay. You always check the phone when you look, and you miss like 6 text messages. No, that was from Dalton. To me, you went after Beard, it got to the finish line. Like, it was as close to being done as can be. Like, they thought they could get him. No one ever said they would that I talked to. No one said it was done. No one said this is happening. But there was certainly optimism growing significantly going into that, final night. And I think, and from talking to people a little more, and I've got, as a lot of people, even probably some listeners and a lot of people on the boards as evidence knew, there's a lot of people with connections really close to Chris Beard in the state, in Aggieland. I think a lot of that had to do with the roster. And it's a real freaking problem right now. And you can say whatever nice things you want about Buzz, and I like Buzz Williams, but you can also say he left Texas A&M in a god-awful spot.
Yep.
And then you can go and say, well, it's a two sides why. I agree with that. Like, it's two sides why he left, and why, like I've said, I think it's okay for both sides. But for the here and now, I think you'd be crazy to think he's not getting those kids to put the do not contacts on their things, and they're going to go to Maryland. That's business, but it's factually, it left A&M in a terrible spot, basketball wise. So if you don't think that Chris Beard looked at that and looked at what he's got at Ole Miss, where they were a minute away from an Elite Eight, and yes, everybody's going on about, McCaslin. Of course, the Aggies kicked the tires on Grant McCaslin. You'd have been insane not to. You weren't ever going to hire him. I think he'd have been maybe even a better fit.
Yeah.
He would have been a better fit at Texas A&M. You weren't hiring him. Texas Tech and Ole Miss would cling to those guys, like Rose clung to Jack in the Titanic. Like, they're not letting those guys go. 2 of the hardest hires for Texas A&M to make, but also the 2 that you'd feel like just fit-wise, and you can't move on to your search without knowing. That was like essentially what the McCaslin flirtation was. You were never especially he's the one that had just signed the deal. Beard had the deal that you could get him. people talk about Lutz at Oklahoma State. He's got a $7 million buyout, which was more than they would have to pay to get Beard. So, but the Beard thing fell through. You kick the tires on a couple of other big names that you're not going to get, and you quickly move on. We're talking about all that happened within the first 48 hours. Now, I think this moves really quickly. Now you're into the pool, right? You all the names, and I'll talk about one in a minute, but all the names, you're in the pool. Trev Alberts will be in San Antonio. Like I said this weekend. I mean, I think he's already there. I think he was there probably last night. I think you'll see him. I don't know how he chooses to do it. You can always sit there and Zoom. You can be in the same hotel and Zoom just so you don't get seen with some, but I think you're going to see him talk to multiple. When I say multiple, it's not like he's going to be sitting at a, career fair booth with his coffee and a bunch of pens and business cards, which, hell, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like A&M does that in coaching searches, but he's going to be sitting there, probably meeting, whether it's face-to-face or Zoom, but only with people that he's narrowed it down to. This is not a free-for-all. I think there's probably no more than 3. And when I say he'll talk to them, it's been narrowed down. It's almost like you could call it whatever you want. If you want to oversimplify, you could call it final interview. And I think the decision, I had said either within 24 hours or, after the Final Four, Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
I think that process is happening. The thing that I thought would be after the Final Four, I say after the Final Four, I mean after the game's Saturday. I think this thing could wrap up internally in the next 24 hours. And then when it's released, I don't know, you always get the most pop if you do it Saturday or Monday, during the games and the telecast. So that's where you get the most pop if you're trying to think. So I think it wraps in the next day or so because I think Trev has a pretty good idea. One of the names, everybody's been talking about Huss at High Point. I think I mentioned him on the very first day. I think part of that is his name's been out there as very attainable for A&M, and I think a guy that has high interest. I think before they even entered the search, they were aware of that, which means, in other words, the headhunters got back. And by the way, they're the same ones that did it with Beard. Yep. The one thing about Chris Beard I think everyone should know, before I go on, don't let me forget this next name.
Yeah, I won't.
Do you want a break?
Yeah,
let's say this. The one thing I know about Chris Beard's deal is Texas A&M was basically to whatever, whether it be the agent or whatever, okay, we're hearing all this about all this interest and how real it is and how he wants the job. What will it take? What do you want to get you out of Oxford to A&M? And every single thing that they wanted, A&M offered. Yes, 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 and yes. Perfect. And it just got to the finish line, and it's nothing. I actually understand Beard's deal. He probably took a look at where both programs were at, said, my goal is a championship. My goal is a Final Four. To go over there right now with no players, I am taking a 2-year step back.
Yep.
So people like to think that was a play for more money. It wasn't. But yes, he did know the whole time, hey, at worst,
I'm getting paid.
I'm going to get a lot more money. I'm going to get what I'm demanding for my assistants, and my NIL numbers going up. So I'm in a win-win. There's no doubt that was in his mind as well. So come back. We'll talk candidate.
A name or 2 or 3.
We'll shoot down some too.
We'll do it. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We'll be back. And we are back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci here in studio. And Billy, we left it at some candidates to discuss. Where, do I just throw you names? Do I?
No. We're trying to get a guest in today. I think Bucky McMillan is one I've been writing about. We were talking about Huss at High Point.
Yep.
And I do think that's a name to continue to watch. But the guy, I feel like there's the the scuttle, good word. But the scuttle for me in the last 24 hours or so, I think Bucky McMillan's made an impression out of Samford. And I know because I said that, some Aggies have done their research or some threads about him. He's a Bucky, so of course that's going to be the Aggie hire, right? Buzz, Jimbo, Bucky, who else? Billy Clyde. Like we got a list of, we make those type hires.
Good old boy names.
So anyway, that's one, and I'm not even saying that it's him, but I'm just saying he is certainly a coach that they're interested in, and that Trev either has or will be talking to. I feel 100% certain in saying that on him. So he's interesting. He's a guy that was coaching, speaking of Billy Clyde, coaching high school basketball at 25 years old and won several state titles in a row, bumped up there. I believe there's an assistant on his staff that was here under Mark Turgeon a long time ago. So I'm not saying that's like a connection for a hire, but that's someone that you can probably talk to kind of find out and do a little more digging and find out a little more information. So, but he's a guy that like people in Alabama really, and in basketball in general, really know and are really fired up about. Like the Auburns and the Alabamas are super aware of what he's doing down there, over there at Samford. And so that would be an interesting one. I like Huss too at High. I like what you read about him at High Point. The one thing people say, and I think it's a fair question, is like, for whatever reason, I think if you see their campus, you would understand, but they're operating with like such a higher NIL setup than everyone else in their conference. That's kind of the one thing that people have complained about. But I think basketball is basketball, and when you watch him, if you're going to go this level, and I don't mean that when I say that, I think people think that's an insult. You hired Billy Clyde Gillespie from UTEP. You hired Mark Turgeon from Wichita State. You hired Billy Kennedy from Murray State. And Buzz Williams got hired at Marquette when he was an assistant. Everybody wants Grant McCaslin. He was at North Texas a couple years ago. Everyone wants Chris Beard. Where was Beard at? Was it UT Arlington? Where was Beard before he went to Tech? I should know that. Or was he an assistant that jumped up? He might have been that. Then you go, who is it? Texas just hired Sean Miller before he got to Arizona and had all that success. He was at Xavier. You can go up and down the list. Nate Oates, Buffalo, Golden in a Final Four, was at San Francisco. All of these guys jump.
He was at Little Rock.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with this. All these guys jump. And A&M has had some level of success. We want more. But they've had some level of success with each of those mid-major jump-up hires. With that said, I think what you need, because they are not going to generate the kind of excitement in the donor base and the people you're asking for. There were people, I said it the other day, there were multiple people that said, $1 million NIL if you hire Beard. Multiple people. I could be saying 2, I could be saying 5. Multiple people, $1 million, Beard's hired. You got my word. I hope they do, but I don't think they'll do that for one of these less splashy hires. I think everybody's excitement would have been ramped up. What this new hire, if I'm Trev Alberts, I've got to get someone in here, I think, that runs an exciting style of play. That's important coming after what we saw with Buzz, where they team after team after team didn't hit shots. They didn't have shot makers. It was rebound, foul, get to the free throw line. Like, it's fine. They won at a nice level. Ultimately, it plateaued, right? And I think big part of the reason it plateaued is this reason, and people are aware of that. So I think I'd be looking for exciting style of play, a more free-flowing, less rigid or, staccato like offense, like start, stop, start. So here's this hot streak followed by a 10-minute scoring drought, right? When you think so offense would be something I would look at closely. And then the other thing, I think because of you're not coming in with that kind of pop and you're coming in late in the game, this dude better have personality and you better feel like, man, he's going to really engage and grab these primary basketball donors, because there's not a giant group of them. And I'm talking about he's going to go out and grab other ones too, because, man, this guy's got energy and he's just like literally going to come in and fight for it.
Right.
He's going to make people like it, and he's going to go get the students. And you don't have to be coming from, like, Chris Beard would have done that, but he would have done that because that's how he came up. Gary Blair did that. He got to A&M. He was already a Final Four coach, but it was in his DNA. It's how he did it. And he didn't care that he had accolades. He was still going to go get his hands dirty and go try to get people. And you've got to be, in my opinion, if you're Trev Alberts, you've got to be looking for that. And I don't know. I think that is a Bucky McMillan characteristic. I don't know enough about Huss in terms of his personality to know if that is, but I don't care if it's those two. And it's not just those two. By the way, you saw the name Chris Mack the other day. That's someone that I think drew legitimate consideration. I think you'd have to fight too much to get him. That's not worth it, because it's not like he's on the upswing of his career. I think he's happy in Charleston. I understand his daughter goes there.
Too, right?
I understand his daughter goes there. You could probably pull that if you fought. But if you're going to do that, there's other people on that level to go. And then one name, I don't, people keep talking about Porter Mosier. I don't think that's the deal. I just haven't. I mentioned Lutz and that buyout. I think had Lutz not had that buyout, I think that would have been an interesting one. But I don't think they go to the state of Oklahoma. People talk about Porter. I get a little bit of heartburn when you're thinking about, I don't care that people go, oh, you just did it because he used to work at A&M. He's a typical Aggie hire. I don't care about that. I care about the fact that he was a couple games away from OU fans wanting to run him out of town like this year, and that's in your own conference. That would be more. It hasn't been the most successful tenure up there. I know. I really do feel like OU doesn't care about basketball enough right now up there.
Yeah.
They're so, I think, worried about getting it right in football, which is understandable. But so maybe there would be a reason to leave. But to me, it's like, I don't think they'll go that route.
Yep.
And I don't think Chris Mack and just another name kind of along those lines is Steve Forbes at Wake Forest. I think as much of that is him trying to push for it. I think he'd love this job. And he's done a nice enough job at Wake. It's been a tough job there for a while now. And they're really fallen. Before he got there, they'd fallen into the shadows of obviously Duke and Carolina. And then when NC State makes a recent move. Mm-hmm. See, that's a coach. Had Buzz done this sooner, like right when their season was over, like the next day, or had people known he was leaving, but that was dependent upon Maryland, unfortunately. You could have had a shot at the guy that would have been the answer, in my opinion, and Will Wade.
Yep.
You could have had a shot at the NC State coach. I think, I know somebody on the agent side that's real close with him that said, man, he would have been the perfect fit. He would have been a really good fit at A&M. But you can't. You are where you are, and so as the day goes on, I'll get a little more info on I said I thought he'd talk to. It's not a hard count at 3, but it's. I don't think it's much more. If it's 4, it's 4. I don't think it's just 2, 3, 4 guys over the next day.
Yeah.
And I think something could happen quickly because I think they're all kind of considered level, and it's like who's hireable without all the nonsense, and who's the best fit. And so I'd be watching today really closely, tonight, whichever.
All right, let's hit a break. I have a question about whoever they do hire and what that roster could look like. Because I think sometimes the guy you hire, you hope he can bring people the way it looks like Buzz is taking people to Maryland.
Mhm.
We'll hit that on the other side as TexAgs Live. All right, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We've got about 3-4 minutes left on the show. Don't believe we're doing it in overtime. We'll see how things go. Billy, let's finish off. Well, I did ask about the roster part of it, but is there any other names that you wanted to throw out there before we call it a day?
I think another guy that I think will be a legitimate player, or is a legitimate, is Luke Murray, the assistant at UConn. Really interesting one. Obviously, a lot of Maryland people thought that's the direction they wanted to see the Terps go. You know, been a part of Xavier background, been a part of 2 national championship teams in a row there. Gets a lot of credit for what they're doing offensively, and particularly what those bigs are doing up there. he's a hot name for sure. I mean, then you're looking in the direction of never been a head coach. I think it's different though. I think he's got a lot of juice behind the type coach he is, and I think this is one of those deals where it's more of a. I'm going way in an exaggeration mode, but it's more of a, Mike Early. People weren't saying he's about to be a head coach, and boom, boom. They took the shot there, in terms of Murray. I think what they're looking at is they're sitting there going, he's more like a Kirby Smart in that the whole sport knows he's ready. He just gets to sit back and kind of wait for the right job.
Yep.
So that deal, like this guy's ready to be a head coach. So him being an assistant doesn't, or not having been a head coach doesn't concern me near as much as it normally would.
Yep.
But so I think that, whether it's McMillan, Murray, and I think Huss is still a name to follow as well. And that's not it. Like I said, we'll keep digging and grinding away today.
And if it is Murray, I'm kind of joking here. Maybe he can bring a Hassan Diarra for his 32nd year in college basketball back to Aggieland.
Coming back, yeah. Well, he'll have to bring somebody because there's no team.
Well, how much is that as part of the
There's no
conversation, right? Like, hey, do you think you can bring players with you? Is that even something that is discussed?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And not just from their team, but that they're recruiting right now. Other players in the portal, like, hey, this guy's over here, but he 100%, like the day I'm here, he'll be here the next day on a visit. I hope those conversations are happening. They have to be happening. I do see some criticism on Trev where it's like, oh, he didn't have a plan B. No, the plan B was to do a quick search. People don't understand, like, Beard was plan A. That was the shot. Tony Vitello was plan A. A&M, I don't know how long the baseball search lasted. It didn't hurt you in any way in terms of timing, right? It didn't do anything. They had passed on Tom Walter. They passed on Skip Johnson. There were a couple other people at Hefner. There were a couple other people they could have had and passed on, not to mention a couple guys they were in talks with, like O'Connor at Virginia. He had circled back. That was a choice. That wasn't a, you've screwed this up. The other part of it, as you're about to go.
10 seconds.
Okay, you could do an overtime.
All right,
but,
I guess we're doing an overtime.
a short one.
Okay.
The other part of it was overtime. Overtime. Woo, 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 woo. Do we have like sirens we're going to do? Or what
Well, we're supposed to pause. We're supposed to look at the camera and tell everybody that TexAgs Overtime, I hope we're rolling, is presented by The Rogue Shop. We've got a sponsor now.
Go get your gummies. Go ahead.
No, you were talking.
Oh, no, I was saying, like, in this one, it was Beard was the guy.
Yep.
And then it was a search. So Beard was over and done with within the first 24 hours. And that was what day?